try to make me pucker. Is you crazy, motherfucker? Yo, kiss the barrel, will that never come back? Back out the shadows, niggas shouting, it's that radical cat.
Okay, explain the title of the new album, Dimensions.
It's your title, man.
Fair enough. So Dimensions, we came up with that just because, well, I came up with it because as we were putting the project together, it was just so many different sounds and different vibes. And, you know, Johnny's really diverse in his abilities. So I just kind of wanted to match that energy. And so Dimensions was just kind of what came up.
Okay. Now, how did you guys get together, decide to do Dimensions?
I'll take that one if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Well, it was in 2016 on SoundCloud. At the time, I was making a lot of beats with my new setup, and I was listening to artists. I found Justo, I really liked his rhyming, and we did a first track back then. We never released that one actually, and then 1 year after, and a couple of chatting, I sent him a couple of beats and said, are you down for a project?" And Justo said yes. That's how it started. That's back in 2017, actually.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Quite an adventure.
So what was the process like creating Dimensions?
Well, we decided to do this album. I sent the beat to Justo. Then in the next couple of weeks, months, he recorded. Originally, there was 8 tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then in the following months, in 2018, I laid down all the tracks in my DAW, made the cuts, the edits, and all of that. And it took me a year or two then to finally go to the studio. I started like end of 2019. Then COVID happened. It got me delayed even further. I don't know how many times I went to the studio. I made like 20 or 25 sessions, maybe 80, 100 hours in total to mix the tracks. And that process took like 2 or 3 years until 2023. And at the early stages of the process, the guys in the studio who've been advising me a lot, they said to me, "Yes, Greg, I mean, basically my name is Greg, besides being Johnny Bongo. Greg, 8 tracks is good and your tracks are good, but to make an album, you need to have at least 10 tracks." So I went back to Justo, proposed him some more beats, explaining to him this concept, and Justo went for more beats.
Okay. Now I'm intrigued by Johnny Bongo. Why'd you get the name Johnny Bongo?
All the names I have. So obviously, Greg, my mom gave it to me. I used to go by the name Original Bootlegs like 20 years ago. It's a friend of mine who gave me that name because of, let's say, my originality and looking like a special savvy or something like this. Because I've been in many places in my life in Caribbean, in England, and I speak a couple of languages. So I'm not like your, let's say, your regular French guy. So that was my name, Original Bootlegs, and then another friend gave me the name Johnny Bongo. Johnny, like because of my European roots, and Bongo because I've always been into hip hop and Jamaican music. I like a lot, not just hip hop or Black American music like jazz, soul, and funk, but I really like also. I mean, I'm a lot into dancehall, reggae, roots, dub. Um, so kind of tidying the African roots of those musics to my name. So he gave me that name. I found it cool, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna keep it.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
That is dope.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, on the song Currency Currency, you say took my shit to London because the truth hurts. Home ain't shit and overseas works. Explain that line.
So if you know anything about me, this is we've done interviews before. So a lot of the times we talked about a lot of the producers I work with. It's usually overseas. It's usually I don't work with a lot of American based artists. Um, and I think it's just because of the style, the way I approach the music is just it has a nostalgia to it that a lot of American producers that I'm aware of aren't into it, you know, or they don't want to dive into that style. Like they rather do more new school style. They rather do more, or it's like or they want to only work with old school artists. So that's the other thing. Like a lot of American producers, they want to hit up Redman and Method Man and Nas, and they want to work with the OGs or even underground OGs. They don't want to work with like new guys coming up. They want that vintage sound with their vintage beats. And so I find myself in this weird thing now where I'm only working with a lot of overseas based producers because they know how hard it is to tap into those OGs. And so they're like, well, shoot, I'm gonna look for artists that are at least doing that sound. They're not as worried about the prestige of the artist. They're worried about the skill of the artist, which I find in America, it's a little different where everything is more prestige. Like you were just saying in the conversation before I even got on the call, where you were talking about, oh, how many followers you have and all that. That's what they care. That's what America is based on a lot of the time. And I'm finding out in the UK and a lot of other places overseas that they care more about the sound and the culture, the things that we used to care about. You know what I mean? So I think that's what that line was. It was a little bit of a shot at the US and American-based producers because this is the issue that an MC like myself has dealing with American-based producers, and that's why I found myself working with people overseas. So that's what that line was.
Okay. On Blue Dodgers, part one and two, you speak on your interaction with police.
Yeah,
Trump has removed the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database,
right,
revoking Biden's executive order on police reform.
right.
Clearly, they want dirty cops to go unchecked. What do you think this means for people who are normally the victims of police misconduct?
That a lot of those things that we've seen in the past will probably come back to fruition. Like we're probably going to see that a little bit more. The frustrating part about that though is that I feel like every time uh these things happen, when we have these situations where police are dominant in our communities or whatever, and it's in a negative light, then the Black community, we get riled up. We're ready to fight. We're ready to go. And then as soon as it dies down, everybody forgets. And so that's what this song was really about. Because I wrote this song a while, like Johnny said, we did the songs a minute ago. So these songs aren't even for the current times. They just fit the current times because America's America, and it just always repeats itself. So that situation, those songs are just based on my experiences, but what tends to happen in this country, and we tend to forget. And so it's funny that these songs are coming out in the time where this is about to happen, because we should always be aware of this situation. This should always be in the forefront of our minds, especially as Black people in America. That we can't forget about that kind of stuff. We have to make sure that these are the things that we're putting into our music, we're putting into our messages as an artist, at least. And it shouldn't be an afterthought. It can't always be about partying and there's actual things happening in the world. You know what I'm saying? So if I got to be the guy to do it, so be it. And there's a lot of artists that are doing this. So I don't want to look like I'm a martyr or whatever. But I feel like it's something that should be more in the mainstream, more things talking about like issues that are either coming up now or they're on their horizon coming up. You know what I mean? So that's what that song was about, though. Like just that whole situation.
The scary part though is now they're deporting and jailing people or threatening to jail people who protest
Right.
or threatening universities or businesses that they think aren't in line with their ideology or
Right.
taking funds away. I think it might, I don't know if it'll affect art, but it might make people less likely to speak out.
It does. I mean, I'm not a writing or rapping artist, but some country making a legitimate war in the Middle East, I won't mention any name, you know why, uh, has pushed, not just in your country, in France is the same, all across Europe is the same. Now, people manifesting just in support of peace, people wearing just some specific scarves, not to mention them, will just get arrested, you know. So I just wanted to add this because it goes really in line with what you said.
This is happening in France?
Oh yeah, big time in Germany. People in Germany just eating at the restaurant terrace with this specific scarf get arrested by cops. You can see this
That's wild.
in Instagram or but I mean I'm located here, so I will get it in my feed, but you know, that's just the way it is.
Wow.
No idea.
And what I wanted to add is that on this particular topic, this particular war, most artists in France, whether music artists, especially hip hop artists, or cinema artists, especially people that come from the African community or anything, most of them they didn't talk about this war because they
Right.
all know that if they talk about it, they're gonna get canceled. That's it.
Right. Right.
That's way too much power.
Oh yeah.
That's way too much power, bro. I wonder what will, when we're gone, what will history say about this? Like, it'll be another instance of, well, we just allowed it to happen. Nobody did anything, nobody said anything.
Well, I think the interesting thing nowadays, just talking about specifically that, is the lack of like black leaders anymore. Like in America, we don't have the Kings, we don't have the X's, we don't have the Black Panther movements, and we don't have any of those kind of leaders anymore. Or even if we do, it feels like they're tainted, like Al Sharpton, like here in New York. You know what I mean? It feels kind of, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel so. It's interesting that like, and it feels too that artists are starting to become more of that vein of the voice of the people. You look at like the Kendrick Lamar situation, right? Or you look at like how J. Cole speaks up a lot about a lot of things. Um, I feel like you're starting to see a switch in the US where like the artists are starting to become more of the main voice of uh uh just fighting against discriminations, kind of like another like civil rights kind of feel to it, which is interesting though. And I don't know why it's at that point now, but we don't have any more like, there's no black pastors really like that are like, the main people that speak out in the US. It's really just everyone just kind of just going at their own disposal with the internet,
I have a theory on that.
for
Um,
sure.
it's like twofold. One, I think in the 80s or the 90s, 80s and 90s, despite the crack era, I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of black people got comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the people that came from the that era,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Jesse Jackson, who's I don't know how old he is now. Minister Farrakhan is 92 or 93 years old.
Right.
Those guys aren't in the forefront anymore because they're
Right.
older.
Right.
But they are the last of the generation to see some shit.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
some really heinous stuff.
Right.
So the people a little bit older than me and you are our age, uh, or my age, they had it kind of good. You know what I mean? I literally saw a person post a picture on one of these social media things, and it was Bill Cosby, Michael Jordan, and I'm forgetting the other two people.
Mm-hmm. Probably
God,
Oprah. Was Oprah in it?
no, Bill
No.
Cosby, Michael Jordan. It was men. It was four men.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's driving me crazy that I can't remember who. Maybe it was Fresh Prince. I'm not sure, but it was a white person who said these people ended racism. Literally, which is ridiculous. But
It's very
I understand what they meant.
right.
Like they meant these
Breaking
people,
color lines,
they came into white
barriers.
people's homes
Right. Right.
and were safe.
Right.
Bill Cosby was like America's dad. Michael
Yeah.
Jordan,
Yeah.
everybody loved Michael Jordan. So I think it was like the first time a lot of white people in America said, "Oh, they're just like us."
Yeah, yeah.
They're okay. But that goes in line with the safeness. I
Right.
think we got comfortable and safe, and then things turned around, and guess what? Police are still hurting, killing people, and not being called accountable.
Yeah,
And like you
yeah.
said, every once in a while we'll blow up. Rodney King, boom. What's the
George Floyd during the
George Floyd? Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Mike
Yeah.
Brown. Like it's every once in a while something is publicized and we go crazy, but this stuff happens every day.
Well, I think the problem is we always fall in love with the victims of the situation instead of focusing on the laws that need to change. We start, we which is a part of it. I feel like, yeah, you big up Rodney King, you big up George Floyd, but it just starts to become like them and more of like we're just fighting for them instead of like, no, we're fighting for something bigger than these people that we're naming. This is also we need to put this energy towards the actual laws and go lobby and go, and do certain things that will help us to change the law rather than just getting mad every time it happens and then walking away. So,
Yeah, I agree.
it's a conversation that's meant to be. And I'm glad, that you brought it up because that's why we do this. That's why I write songs like this, you know?
It's important. It's important. I've never been uh beaten by a cop or anything, but I've definitely been pulled over a lot
For
for
sure.
no reason,
For sure.
disrespected a lot
Yep.
for no reason. Who knows what those incidents might lead to?
Yep.
And I think there's this idea in America amongst a lot of people that it's like the old Richard Pryor thing. Oh, those people are resisting arrest. That's why they got killed. It's not always the case.
Right.
It's
Right.
not always the case.
100%.
Um, so you got, people power hungry and racist. Or you know what? My worst incidents with police have been from black cops.
Right. Because they're on the safe side of it. So they feel empowered and emboldened.
Yeah. And they just
Mm.
disrespect you.
Yep.
I'm older now, so I get it less. But when I was in my 20s,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
was constant. It was
For sure.
constant. So yeah, they just mess with people, man, and sometimes it turns out really bad. Um, I want to go into the technical part of that song because Johnny, the bass on part one is crazy.
Uh, so Blue Dodger, right?
Yes.
Uh, well, that's a sample. I'd rather not say.
Okay. Don't say. No
Uh,
snitching.
Hmm.
and actually, it's good. I forgot. It's in the list somewhere. But so no, no. It's all something I don't play. I just get some music somewhere. I filtered it for the bass, filtered it for the high pass, and put the beat. We originally had so this guy named David Jacob, who's the bassist of a very old French rock band called Trust. He just formed a jazz trio called Yakuba Trio, just released something. And David is a friend of this DJ who was the mix engineer in the studio, Dick Studio Paris, where I mixed the album. And when we were working on the tracks, I said, "Yeah, I need some bass replayed on that song." So David played the bass for 4 or 5 songs, and he did some stuff on another song that eventually I did not keep. So for that Blue Dodger, I think that's normally the original sample bass. I don't think that's the bass he replayed. He kind of played it the same way. No, it's all something not made from me.
Okay. That's dope, man. That was crazy. So what's in your production workstation?
Well, it's been 10 years. I've been in a very minimalistic setup. I have a 2012 Mac Mini, okay, and an MPC Studio.
Okay.
I used to, at the time, I was still sampling a lot on records, okay. Also, sometimes sampling on YouTube or Spotify. So now I don't have like a Technics MK2 turntables. I just sold all my MK2 that I had accumulated over the time because they became more trendy and sold for most. So I just bought this, audio. I think it's Audio Technica. This
Hmm.
turntable. So I still
Yeah.
sample from there sometime. So that's very simple. Just this Mac Mini and an MPC Studio, and I've been working this since 2015, and all the beats from the album have been made with that setup. Then I've been using Logic to lay down all the stems of the tracks for my beats and for Justo voicing. Prepared all that, then exported and went to the studio. I could not tell you what they have in the studio. It's been mostly done doing like digital plugins mixing. The mastering was done with a digital plugin also, but using some racks. I couldn't tell you. I'm not super technical. That's it, basically.
Okay. There's a song called A Better World, and on it you say, need some positive souls in the domain, got Kendricks and Coles, but the East look ashamed. Why do you think the East Coast has lacked in producing positive MCs in recent years?
New York is just such a hub for like, no, New York is funny, man. Especially like, I would say the East Coast in general, but I'm from New York, so it's such a funny place because we were the trendsetters. You know what I mean? Like this is the home of hip hop. This is, you know, where all the OGs come from. But I feel like after the South like uprise and obviously the West Coast came up a lot earlier, but once the South came and all that, I just feel like we've become more of like following trends than we are the trendsetters. Like in New York, it's wild. Like you don't have a lot of people still even sounding like New Yorkers. Like if you listen to a lot of New York like rappers, they don't even sound like they're from New York. Like you can't tell from the accent, you can't tell from the music, you can't tell. So I think for that reason, we've lost a lot of those rappers that, you know, uh, speak about the issues that go on, or if they do, they're not the main guys. You don't hear about, they're not put on the forefront the same way as maybe some guys in other parts of the country. So, but that's a lot of, again, for me, I feel like because our OGs don't step up enough. I feel like the New York OGs don't step up enough. And it's all on us. I don't blame the industry because hip hop's been around too long, and there's too many successful artists of color for us not to have a bigger platform for artists that make the kind of music that's not the status quo. I just feel like there's too many people out here. There's too many OGs that have a platform that can make the difference. And even the two people I mentioned, you think about Kendrick, you think about J. Cole, who's their OGs? Kendrick has Dre. J. Cole has Jay-Z. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like that's what you need if you're an artist that's going to speak against the status quo and you're going to have a message. You need an OG. You know what I mean? You need someone who's going to have your back like that. And for whatever reason, we just don't have any artists like that getting pushed enough. You know what I mean? Like there's artists that's out here doing it. They're just not pushed enough. So I think that was my message in that bar.
Okay, last question. What do you hope to achieve with Dimensions?
You can go first, John.
I don't know, getting some reach, having some people listening to the album, having some opportunities for doing another project in hip hop. I have some beats ready to go. I'm not the main artist, even though my name is on the album. Justo is the rapper, so he would be the one at the forefront. I don't know if there were any shows or anything. He would be the one representing the album. So, and I don't have such. Well, you said in the beginning before we started the interview, this is a video interview. Basically, I don't like to show my face. You can find any of my social media. You will not see a picture of myself except on LinkedIn because that's for work. But I'm not the kind of person who would like to be, have my face seen as little as we would be or not. So no, just getting more reach, having the opportunity of making another project, and I'm also working on other project in other genres. So if this big piece of work, because yes, it spanned for almost 10 years between the moment we started and now we're releasing it, could also help with my other project. I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm just for creating something and pushing it and hoping the people can like, and then we'll just see after that what happens.
Yeah, same. This is my first project I'm dropping literally since I did Urban Testimony, the last one we talked about. So I haven't dropped an album in maybe a year and a half. So, and that's not like me. I try to drop one at least one a year, but a lot of, life is life. So I just think this album in particular is just special because of the time frame that it took for us to get here. And now at this point, you just hope that people digest it, they love it, they have questions, like yourself, and they really digest it. At this point, I don't have expectations about what should happen with my music anymore. I feel like that kills the desire sometimes, because you have the expectation and it doesn't happen, and then you're like, well, why am I doing this for? You know what I'm saying? So like, I try to take that part out and just say, I hope the people rock with it, and like Johnny said, bring us some opportunities at least to bring it out to the world, perform it, whatever, what have you, and have these conversations.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Justo the MC, Johnny Bongo. Thank you for joining therealhiphop.com.
Right.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. Peace.
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 Now you know who that person is. Yeah. And that's it. That should be enough.
Could it be me, or should it be you? To try to make a difference, yeah, and change their view. Hit the whole city with a major move and start a movement. Yo, this y'all cue. Y'all got so much to stand for with nothing to stand on or hype, but you ain't come with a platform on site.